Alright, no. Still no fanfare yet. Machine's still in the shop, so I won't be able to go all epic on anyone until I actually get all of my work done and out of the shop. That sort of thing's the biggest headache that I've ever had in my entire life right now. Well, that's not really true, but you know, it's a hell of an inconvenience, let's put it that way. An extreme inconvenience. But we'll be getting dug out of that pit relatively soon enough. Anyway, in the meantime, at least I still have access to where I can take a little time of my free time and just try to set records straight. And I figure at this rate in the game, that's pretty much the game I'm going to be playing right now, because the stuff that I really want to do some serious commentary on, I really want to get pretty in-depth with it. And again, per my shtick, I do want to get a little bit epic about it, so I'm just kind of laying back and holding off on a few things. And a few of the things are topics that others have brought up, which I want to throw my little 3 or 4 cents in on, and others where it doesn't seem like anybody within the familiar group are really addressing or picking up on, that I want to try to get a discussion rolling, or at the very least just give my opinion whether anybody follows it or not. But be that as it may, this is really not going to be one of my typical commentaries. This is going to be more of an examination of how people who tend to get out of line with me and decide to go all apeshit ballistic and trying to do everything they can to either silence me or to try to slander me in some sort of a way, or try to make me feel down on myself, or whatever, whatever tactics that they keep using, and the perpetual lies that they keep spreading as far as trying to explain away their hand in the situation and why I keep coming after them like a Tasmanian devil. Well, I'm going to take just a little bit of time to set everybody on the right path with another example. Yes, another GoogleTube user / uploader who, if you note the contrast, you'll begin to ask yourself some questions as to why General Backlash is going after I say this with herpes and that Chewbacca looking vulva liquor 20%, or whatever the heck she is. Because this will help give a clear indication as to why that these two particulars and others like them, because usually the ones that fall in right behind them, they typically don't upload their own video commentaries. They usually just come in on the text comment areas and start slinging their defecation also as a way of taking swipes at somebody or trying to schmooze up to somebody, even when in a number of cases the people that they schmooze up to eventually turn around and stab them in the back. But and yes, I'm talking to you, Chris. So be that as it may, what I would like to point out is a contrast, and the contrast that I'm going to use, and it's one of many, but I just decided to pick up on this one mainly because for other reasons I had tried to go to her channel page and tried to find some things out, and reviewed some of her older uploads and some of the videos that I had commented on, and she goes by the name of V Marie, or I believe her channel is also VM21. I'm not clear on that, but if anybody who knows her, she goes by the name V Marie, or your girl V. Now I'm choosing her specifically for a couple of reasons, and not least among which is the fact that V Marie not only has me as a subscriber and a commenter, but she also happens to have I Say This With Zit Face and Vulva Breath 100% as people who follow her videos and who comment on her videos. Now let me explain something about my interactions with V Marie. Just as with I Say This With Yak Weave and Stinky Cunt 100%, I went to V. Marie's channel to disagree with her. She was spreading certain points, or she had certain viewpoints about certain matters, usually involving the black gender war issue. And at times she was putting forth an argument that seemed to distort the reality of what was going on and what was happening in the African American community as far as our intimate relationships go, which is what's essentially keeping us apart and at odds with one another. Same sort of thing I did on I Say This and Caramel's channels, with just about equal amount of force. But here's the interesting thing. When I went to V. Marie's channel to disagree with her, she debated me cordially and respectfully. She considered my disagreement. She challenged my position and my point of view in some cases. In other cases, she said, well, yes, I can see your point, or I can consider that as an alternative. In other cases, she more or less agreed with me, but we didn't always have a mutual, hey, we're all on the same page here and we're just going to get each other's back and we're just going to have a one big love fest. No. I actually went with her with the same disagreements whenever I had a point of contention to express with her. And I said, well, here's what you're not looking at, or here's the other angle of this, which you need to consider, which you need to examine. It's not as simple and cut and dry as you present it. And though I was disagreeing with her, she came to me with some level or some degree of respect, or at least consideration, or just I don't agree with your viewpoint, but yeah, hey, I understand where you're coming from, yada yada. Now you contrast that with my interactions with these other two, I'm trying not to call them names now, but I gotta try to get a rise out of them some kind of way, because I know it just sears their ass anytime I say something disrespectful and obnoxious about them, because they try it at me and then they know it doesn't get my goat. Only when they slander my ass is when I go apeshit ballistic, and of course I tear them a new asshole, and I make sure everybody knows where they slander me and how they slandered me, and I made sure that they get called out, and in no uncertain terms. But see, when I came after them with the same sorts of disagreements, their reaction was, I'm hating, I'm just some troll, I'm just trying to stir up shit, I don't get no pussy, or I'm lame and weak, or you're just pretending to be something else because you just want followers, or you're trying to get all this and what does it take to get people to acknowledge, hey, okay, you disagree with me on this point, here's my counterpoint, or in some cases, hey, I see your point, I understand where you're coming from, but that's not how I believe it, this is what you're leaving out. What's so difficult about that? It wasn't difficult for V. Marie. And again, as I said, this is someone that I Say This and Caramel essentially support. I, on the other hand, occasionally support V. Marie. Other times I disagree with her strongly. But see, the difference is that when I express my disappointments with, or my disagreements with V. Marie, she handles the situation like a trooper. She doesn't get all emotional. She doesn't try to shove anybody in front of the train. She doesn't go into some rantastic things. Her arguments are not one-sided. Even when she's laying down the biggest smackdown from a one-sided perspective, she's still open and willing enough to listen to the alternative point of view and to consider some other angle that might help to explain why perhaps her argument might not be the most correct. And so, by that one thing, she earns my respect. And on top of that, the other thing is the fact that, well, actually I already said both of them. She doesn't turn around and start screaming and hollering and slandering people just because they disagreed with her, or they gave up a different perspective or a different point of view that she's not comfortable with at the time. And she's also willing and able to have a genuine discussion / debate with you and challenge your position on points, not on emotion, but on points, which is something these two cunt sniffers don't do and refuse to do. This is why, though I have my moments of strong disagreement with someone like V. Marie, she gets mad respect from me. She gets mad respect from me. So much so that despite our disagreements, I freely refer to V. Marie as my sister. Because there's a difference between someone who just goes off all emotional and just starts stirring up the pot of shit just because, oh, somebody doesn't see things my way 100%, so let me go ahead and slander them and call them out of their name, versus someone like V. Marie, who's woman enough and who's not so much of a coward to actually allow someone a platform to disagree with her perspectives and her points of view. And if she feels that her position needs to be expanded any, will actually spend the time and say, well, okay, I'll consider this. Oh, you did a video commentary on this? Alright, I'll go check it out and I'll give you my opinion on it. Or the text comment that you left, I understand some of the points you're making, but here's my a little deeper insight on it from my perspective. That's how you're supposed to have a debate. That's how we're supposed to interact in these things. Regardless of the fact that anything I say rubs you the wrong way. If it rubs you the wrong way, then challenge me on points. Don't just get rubbed the wrong way and then just start calling people out of their name and slandering them. Just say, hey, I don't like what you said because it doesn't sound right, or it goes against anything that I've believed for all this time. Let's argue the point a little bit. See whose argument has the better opportunity to sway the other person. Because V. Marie is a real woman and is truly someone who is actually seeking solutions. That's the difference. V. Marie actually wants solutions. Caramel, and I say this, they just want to shit on black men. That's all it comes down to. And so if you're not on their party line of shitting on black men and seeing black women as faultless queens and goddesses, then you need to be attacked, and attacked in the worst way, which includes slandering them and spreading all sorts of lies and distorting their words and everything else that makes the person who comes up to challenge them look bad in the eyes of their, not only their followers, but also in the people who come in later on, who just start gobbling this mess up and who refuse to be a pentazoid and say, hey, is that true? Did he really say that? Let me go and find out for myself. Hey, so and so said this about you, or they said that you said this. Is that true? What's the real story? And I'll tell them either simply, here it is in a direct text comment or whatever, or hey, I've already done a video upload on that. Anything that I had to say on the issue, you can go over there, check it out yourself, and you're free to do it. If anybody really wants to know anything about General Backlash / Kid Brother and whatever his position is on things, or what my belief systems or philosophies are or anything, it's that simple. And it's the same way when somebody starts slandering me and spreading all sorts of lies and vicious rumors about me. If you want to know if any of it is the truth or if where any of it got started from, I'll be more than happy to direct you to the source. But see, this is why people like I Say This and Caramel have to keep shouting down arguments and having to keep trying to squelch all sorts of dissent and any sort of retaliation. Because when they see that truth is bubbling to the surface to smack down their bullshit, then they get exposed as the liars and the frauds that they really are. But I have nothing to hide. If anybody wants to know anything about what my interactions have been on this Google Tube thing, including how I got wrapped up in beefs with people, I'll be more than happy to direct you to the source, and then you can decide for yourself. That's all I wanted to say at this time. I hope people at this time finally start to get the message and stop believing a bunch of rabid, frothing mouth, shrieking harpy shrews who just want all sorts of attention because they're so down and low on themselves that they don't know anything better than to just take swipes at somebody just to make themselves feel better because they hate themselves, apparently. So, with that, I'm not going to say I'm done because, as I said before, if they're going to keep coming out with more of their lies and more of their slanders, I'm going to be there to lay the bullwhip to their ass, because I'm not going to let it go unchallenged. So until they decide they've had enough, I'll still be out here cracking the whip. But that's what I wanted to lay out for you. If it gets to a point where any of you are ever concerned about why these things get started and why they keep dragging on, and why things go silent for a while and then suddenly re-erupt like Kilauea, just ask and ye shall receive. End of line.